Hey, once again, radio heads. Tonight we're looking at a Philco model number 46-1209. 46-1209. And of course, the way Philco numbers their radios, 46-1209 indicates this radio was made in 1946. This is a broadcast and shortwave radio with a record player. And I've worked on this radio for a guy just to do the electronics and to get his record player going. So this was a unique record player in that it was used a very early magnetic cartridge that is basically made of unobtainium. You simply cannot get this cartridge anywhere. And so, of course, that means there's some improvising that had to take place. There's a look at the tone arm. And this is a really cool record player in that it has pretty good sound. So I was able to improvise, but it meant that I had to use a ceramic cartridge. And I get those from audio enthusiasts, Voice of Music audio enthusiast. Gary at Voice of Music does a good job of getting me everything I need. This is a nice wood record player. As you can see, I've got a friend there trying to help me out. And it also has push-button preset tuning, which uses tunable inductor coils. And so it's a pretty neat radio. Let's give her a whirl, shall we? As is typical Philco fashion, the on-off switch is on the tone control. So go ahead and turn that on. Now it has a pretty interesting set of knobs. This is how it came to me. A couple of the knobs are heavily marbled, and then the other two knobs are your basic brown, and then the push buttons are kind of dark, almost black. They're really dark brown. So I'll have to change the station a lot. I don't want to get in trouble with the copyright police. But here we go.
It's a great site, and
this radio has really nice sound.
in our
Water super for the hot.
Oh yeah, I love that. That's a country station locally. KSOP in north of Salt Lake City is a wonderful station. Plays vintage country.
This person and I was.
Picks up a lot of stations really nicely.
by two elderly.
Peterson, who quarterbacked the Big
Now,
Miners, also in college football.
I did not set up the push buttons for the fella. I do know it works because I tinkered with it some. And on this radio, what you do is you go from the BC broadcast over to PB, which stands for push button. Now I'm used to PB standing for police band, but in this radio it stands for push button. And they are working.
Congratulations, thanks for listening, Charlie.
It's just that I haven't set them up.
Good old days, 'cause
But they work nicely. So we'll put it back on broadcast. Now, to play a record on this machine, it's really pretty cool. It's got a push-button switch for the phono. Push that in. And then you open the door, and this is kind of a two-handed arrangement because it's a pretty top-heavy machine. It's sort of a strange situation. There's the record player. That is a Philco model D-10A, D-10A. It is an automatic machine, but here's the trouble. The tone arm is quite heavy with the original cartridge, and I had to replace the original cartridge with a more modern ceramic cartridge. But the problem is the original cartridge, and the tracking force on that was about 1 1/4 ounces. Between 0.8 ounces and 1 1/4 is pretty much the range. I think that was the correct range. I don't remember exactly, but I know it's heavy. Where the heaviest tracking force ceramic cartridge I can find with an output that is appropriate was about 10 grams. So here we have a problem in that the tone arm is really light. And that's really good for the record, and it's even good for the longevity of the stylus tip, but it's not good for the way the reject mechanism works in this machine. It uses the typical pawl and ratcheting mechanism, which with a tone arm this light causes it to skip. And so all I could do was remove the spring that operates the pawl for the reject so that the reject is effectively disengaged. The whole automatic changer now does not function. It does, I've tested it, it works very smoothly and beautifully, but I've had to make it not functional so we could run this machine so he could play records. If I didn't do that, I do have an original magnetic cartridge for this, and it even has a needle on it, but it sounds horrible. It's just rough, and I have a good transformer in this because it had an impedance matching transformer. And all that is okay, but the trouble is it just sounded bad. The needle was worn, and I'm sure that the magnet in the cartridge is probably not up to snuff. And so I opted, for the customer's sake, to go ahead and set this up with a ceramic cartridge with about a 0.7 volt output, which is fine. I bypassed the impedance matching transformer because the impedance is okay on a ceramic going into the preamp. And it works really nicely. Sounds good, has real nice tonal quality, but you have to operate it manually. Now that's actually okay because on most record changers meant for 78s, I really recommend strongly to the folks that I work with that you not ever run the thing in record change mode, except for maybe an occasional demonstration. And even in that case, I suggest that they put a rubber or a felt platter cover on it to kind of cushion, because these records are made of shellac or shellac-based material, which over the last 70 years or so has gotten quite brittle. And when these things drop from, on the spindle, using the mechanism in here to release the record and let it drop down, well, they break. And especially if you put a stack of records on, I've had folks tell me that their records all came out cracked. And so that's a bad deal. So I even if the changer were working perfectly and the sound was perfect with the changer operating, I would still recommend that to the owner of this radio that they never run these records in the changer mode. Now this is a 78 only player, so there is no speed control, but there is a manual and automatic control that's just a mechanical lever underneath, and then an on-off switch, and the reject button, the reject toggle, it's mechanism actuator is just doesn't work now. And but this machine does have a really cool compartment light. Oh, there we go. Having trouble finding the silly thing. Anyway, it's like a Christmas tree bulb, as you can see. And it's a pretty nice machine. So let's go ahead and play a record, shall we? This is a little bit of Tommy Dorsey and his orchestra. And let me tell you what the name of this tune is. It's looks like Night and Day. It's a foxtrot, Tommy Dorsey and his orchestra, probably around 1936 or 38. All right, so this is real good video practice here. There we go. Has real nice sound. What's cool is the speaker. The speaker has these nice side baffles, so you still have a nice chamber for the speaker to get some good resonance. And it does a nice job. I'll show you the back here in a minute. But it's a real nice sounding machine, plenty of volume, good tone control, very nice tone quality. The only thing is I want to be real careful if I were to close the door while it's playing, because that tone arm being so light, it'll do a dance on that record. So I'm going to recommend that the owner operate this with the door open, which I believe was the manufacturer's intent anyway. So I'm real pleased with this. Real nice sound. Now I don't want to get in trouble. I don't know if this is public domain music or not. Oops. So I'll go ahead and stop that. Shut down the machine. And I'll pause the video here and we'll take a look at the back side of this machine. Okay, here we are in the back of this Philco 46-1209. And it's a real nice chassis. Philco stuck with the separate tuner chassis for a while, but they changed the arrangement in their just pre-war and then post-war radios so that tuner section, that RF section was down at one end, and it's much easier to remove and get out and work on and so forth when it's set up in that location. And this radio has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tubes. It's a nice radio with a nice little preamp stage for the phonograph. And that preamp stage does something else real nice for me, and that it enables me, with some minor changes in circuitry inside that I made, it will enable me to also run a little Bluetooth receiver and play music from a phone in this radio, and I'll demonstrate that in a minute. But it's kind of an odd arrangement. That speaker sits down there in that chamber right below the record player, so you get a lot of bass. I'd imagine if you had a more sensitive record player, you'd probably get some feedback, but I don't think that's going to be a problem in this radio. They sold a lot of these, so I don't think it was a big deal. And it uses a nice loop antenna design, which I've copied and made myself. I even made one with coat hangers once, and works really well. So really a simple arrangement, nice simple radio. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and pause it again, and I'll hook up some Bluetooth. We'll give it a shot. Okay, I've got the Bluetooth all hooked up, and let's go ahead and turn on the wife's phone and get a little bit of sound. We're going to play a little bit of a fella by the name of Nick Hilscher, one of my favorites. I saw him along with the Glenn Miller Orchestra a few years ago in Indianapolis, and I loved it. This guy's very talented. Anyway, I won't play much of it because it's copyrighted, I'm sure. But what we have is... I've got the Bluetooth just sort of dangling there right now. I'm going to make a mount for it. But there it is, mounted up and going right in through where the phonograph goes. Real nice sound. Real nice sound. So here we got tone control. Nice and loud. So I think the owner is going to be real happy with this. I think he's going to be real pleased with the way this thing works. All right. With that, I'll go ahead and shut her down. And I hope you enjoyed this. Till next time, that's all I have.